What's up, everybody? Welcome to Monday. This is The Slate, brought to you by DraftKings. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. I hope you had some success betting on the Kentucky Derby. I did not, but hey, you know what? That's the spirit of a horse race. Mile and a quarter, and you hope for the best, basically. I didn't have money on the favorites. That didn't matter. That wasn't going to cost me anyway, but you start to take some darts, and well, congrats to Mage and all those who wound up backing that stallion out there. I am Adam Kaufman, joined by a stallion, Jeff Ulrich. We'll talk to Chirag here in just a little bit on NBA, but Moose, you join up to talk a little hockey. I hope, my friend, you took the overs last night.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've seen some wild blowouts here in the second round. I mean, especially that Carolina-New Jersey series. I admit, if I had been betting totals on that series, like to start, I would have slammed the under there. But again, I mean, it's just, you see weird things in the second, third round. Sometimes teams get a little bit tired. The other team jumps on them early, and then it's just, all hell breaks loose. So that's what we've seen from almost every series. Dallas got hammered. The Hurricanes got hammered. Vegas got hammered. I expect that as we go back and all these teams are in action again coming up, things will tighten up a little bit. But yeah, definitely the second round, a few more goals than expected so far.
It's going to be quiet tonight in the sense that we only have one game, but there is a chance, obviously, this one gets loud, especially when you look at the over-under of 7 goals in the contest on the DraftKings Sportsbook. We'll show you some of the raw data here between the Vegas Golden Knights at your beloved Edmonton Oilers. So obviously this one is close to home, not only as a bettor, but as a fan. We can get your perspective on this one. Series is tied at 1, going back to Edmonton. Yeah, the Golden Knights clear that over by a mile, going for 6-4 win back in game 1. We went under in game 2 with a 5-1 bounce back by the Oils. So what do you expect here in game 3?
Again, I'm not expecting the Oilers to win by like 4 or 5 goals again, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Oilers win this game and win it like semi-handily. They're just really tough to keep down. I mean, even in game 1, when this team was down, they were getting outshot. I mean, they tied it up. They just brought it right back. They've gotten any goaltending. They're up 2-0 right now. I think that Vegas got really just showed up in your own barn. And when that happens in hockey, it's kind of hard to come back from. Vegas is good, but they play the same game as the Oilers, and they're just not as good at it. I think it's going to show as the series gets further. The Edmonton Oilers to this point in the playoffs have not gotten any goaltending. I mean, legitimately, the only game you could say where their goaltender was a factor was when Jack Campbell came in and didn't steal them the game, but he kept them in the game. We haven't seen Stuart Skinner win them a game yet. If that ever starts happening, I mean, this team's going to be really tough to stop. I'm just going to look at the Oilers 60-minute line again tonight. I think you can look to the Oilers on the series. I know it's down to like -200, -180, but I just think that this team showed really what it's all about in that last game. That showed me everything that I need to see with this series. That's what I wanted to see. I was expecting to see more of that in game 1. We got it for a glimpse, but we only got it for like not enough. Obviously, the Oilers, like I said, they didn't get any goaltending, but I think Skinner will show up to the point where the Oilers win this. I like the -110. Again, Oilers could win this by a couple. It could be close at the end, but I think that with them getting those odds on the reg, that's where kind of I want to go in terms of the game tonight.
So like you said, -110 for the Oilers to win this one on the 60-minute line. It's obviously a little bit bigger than that, -180, I believe it was. Yeah, -180 on the money line overall. Looking at some of the numbers here from our friends at VEASAN in terms of how the handle and the bets are spread out, it doesn't really surprise me because I agree with you. I think Edmonton, especially at home, we're looking at an Oilers win coming up here. It doesn't surprise me that 80% of the handle just about is on Edmonton and about 70% of the bets. I guess what surprises me a little bit, just because hockey's fickle, it's like baseball on the run line, same kind of thing. You've got Edmonton -1.5, which is obviously a much more favorable bet, but 82% of the handle and a growing, it's being bet up right now. 63% of the bets are on the -1.5. You don't think this will be a close one, or at least the bettors don't? What do you think?
No, I mean, I think it could be close. I think it could be 4-3. Again, I'm not expecting Vegas to like lay down here and get blown out. And I think that you're seeing a little bit of that. That's a public reaction. It's bigger odds. They say, well, the Oilers just beat them by 4. Now they're at home. Like this series is over. And I think that the Oilers will win this game, and I think they'll win the series. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to get some close contests or that Vegas isn't going to keep this close. That's why I brought up the regulation line. I'd prefer that. If you're going to take a shot, I think the -110 when you compare it to the money line is fine. It's fine to do that. That gives you a little bit of extra cushion in terms of the one goal as well. So I'd rather take that than asking. I mean, the Oilers, as good as they are just controlling the puck offensively on special teams, like I said, their goaltender has let in weak goals. Their defense makes boneheaded plays at times still to keep things interesting. That screams to me a team that's up 4-1 could easily let in a couple goals late. So I don't really love the puck line. I don't love taking puck lines, especially in the playoffs too. But yeah, tonight this is one where I try and stick to the reg line.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out in 5.5, 6 hours if I'm wrong about this. I don't tend to, and this is, I guess, just my experience as a bettor, I don't tend to spend a lot of time thinking about the puck line or about the 60-minute line. But I think it's a great point that you mentioned, because when I'm looking at the number, I would think just intuitively, all right, if it's -180 on the money line, and so many do believe that Edmonton's going to win, I would think that the 60-minute line is going to be more like, I don't know, -140 or something like that. -110, when you're getting virtually even money, just on the belief that Edmonton is going to win, but simply do it in regulation. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great number. It's a number that I wish to thought to bet on earlier today before I already invested my money into the money line and the buck line.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine to play it both ways. I mean, they're looking at whenever you're doing money line bets or anything in hockey, there's always nice to look at the 60-minute line. Also look at the team totals as well. Sometimes you can find some, what you call arbitrage or just, better odds available. I mean, again, if you're playing for an Edmonton win and you think they're going to score 4 or 5 goals, I'd almost rather play over 4.5 goals than the money line or the puck line. Because I mean, again, the Oilers as a team, what have we seen? Yes, they control the puck, they score a bunch of goals, but they're also just akin to these bad goals at times. So, you could see a 5-4 game. I actually like the -145 on over 3.5 goals. I mean, just with the way their offense has been going, we got a weak goalie on the other side, but I don't know. I think the regulation line is just where I would go. Ultimately, I think the Oilers are the team here that overcomes it. And again, I don't even mind going to them on the series, even at a shorter line right now. So to me, it is the Oilers tonight. I'm kind of just riding with where all the money's going. Doesn't mean that I'm not expecting Vegas to do anything or for some of their players to show up or even you can still look to some of their player props. But yeah, I do like the Oilers, and that was probably the one bet that the regulation line that I like the most.
Well, 4 goals in game 1, 5 goals in game 2. So if you did want to jump on and simply say over 3.5, you're looking at -145 for that. Be a little more bold, get plus money. +155 at the over 4.5, as Jeff was highlighting there. So something to think about. Well, we've got you for a couple more minutes before we bring Chirag in to take a look at NBA. Obviously, this is the only game tonight, but we do have 2 more tomorrow, and these, have been entertaining series so far. You got Carolina in Jersey, Dallas in Seattle. These are 2-2-1 series at the moment, with ultimately Carolina and Seattle have a chance to put a real stranglehold on this series. And the only overwhelming bets right now, again, looking at VSiN's numbers, and maybe some of this, Jeff, you tell me, is recency bias. People are hammering the over 5.5 in both these games.
Yeah. And again, not surprising at all. I would be careful. I mean, the one I would be careful with is Carolina and New Jersey. I mean, these are 2 teams who are really buttoned up defensively. We saw it with the Devils. They had some loose games at the start of that Rangers series. And then what did we see? We saw a couple really close, low-scoring games. I kind of feel like we're going to get that finally in game 4. There's just no way this series between Carolina can go and every game is 6-4 or something. There's no chance. I can't see it. I think that game 4 is going to be very tight. I actually like the under there. That's the way I would play. I would wait, because you may get a 6 or something, or maybe, again, all the bets seem to be going that way, but I think it's a good spot to finally, go the other side there and play the total. I'll probably be looking to do that tomorrow. Dallas, Seattle's a little bit different. I would, again, and I made this call in game 2, but I would just play the Dallas team total there. If you like the over, this Dallas offense is, I mean, they had a bad outing. But they still grabbed a couple goals. I mean, over 3.5 goals for Dallas at +135. Love it. I absolutely love that number. This is a team that, again, you just go back and look at their recent history. Like before game 2, they had gone 7 of 12 games, scored 4 more goals. They got blown out in 1 goal. And now we're getting a reaction that Seattle's somehow some dominant defensive team. No. Grubauer's probably going to regress a little bit at some point. The Seattle defense isn't what I'd call, all that. Certainly they have their deficiencies, and it's just the Dallas has just have a lot of elite forwards. I really like that play. I'll definitely be on Dallas in some way, shape, or form for game 4. And I mean, just looking again at that team total for Dallas, that one stands out for sure.
I really like to pay attention to where the money's going and how it doesn't always impact how I bet, but it certainly impacts my thought process, I suppose. Paying attention what the sharps are doing, the public's doing, and all of that. And when I look at that first game, Carolina, Jersey, the fact that you have it's sort of it's counterintuitive because you have most of the money, right? A lot can change, but most of the money right now on the Carolina the Carolina money line,
right,
or which is at plus money, or the New Jersey puck line. So I mean, these are two very different things, obviously. So what's your read on this game?
No, and again, I think that it's funny because I think even where the money is going is kind of like expecting a closer, tight game, and yet everyone's still betting the over, right? Like if you're betting the Devils like puck line, I mean, at plus 1.5, I mean, you're kind of expecting like a 1-goal game. So yeah, my favorite play right now for this series, I would actually look to the Devils on the series line at plus 155. I mean, again, like you could say, I'm not saying that this is playing out just like series 1, but from the start of the series, I mean, I said like Carolina is down their wingers. The Devils have a far deeper roster. I expected their depth to wear them down eventually. They just need to get their goaltending straightened out a little bit. And they finally solved Freddie Anderson. I think Freddie Anderson could bounce back, which is the reason why I like the under in game 2. But if the Devils pull out game 2, I mean, it is tough here for a team that had a lot of trouble scoring in round 1. They were close to going 7 against the Islanders, and the Devils are just a better team than the Islanders. I think this game is everything for the Hurricanes. So if the Hurricanes win it, and you're investing the money line or in the series line, you could always look to reinvest, or you could just ride it out and maybe hedge or something. But I think investing here with the Devils, because if they win this, they may go back to being the favorites for the series here. That's kind of the way I like to play it. And again, like I think it will be a closer game in game 2. So, maybe even playing the Devils puck line. I don't know, maybe a Devils or just the under as well.
All right, my friend, we're going to let you go. Plenty of great hockey insights there. We'll get to golf a little bit later on in the week, obviously. Let's bring in Shirag Hira and bounce around the NBA for a little while. And this is fun. This is one thing that I really love is when we get rooting bias involved, obviously, in this stuff. So Shirag, big Lakers guy, they play tonight. Of course, Jeff, we just had big Oilers guy there in action tonight. So let's look ahead, Shirag, and welcome in, obviously. Let's look ahead at what's going on in the NBA tonight with 2 games. And if we have time, we'll talk about the 2 tomorrow as well. Let's start with the earlier game, though, and that is the Knicks and the Heat. Again, people pounding the over 209 in that one. But in terms of who is actually going to win this thing, whether you're talking about just covering the spread or you're talking about outright on the money line, it's pretty split. So what's your read here? Shirag, you're muted, my friend.
I stayed muted so that I wouldn't interrupt the hockey segment there.
That's right. So, out of respect, out of deferential to Ulrich.
Yeah. But I think the reason due to Jimmy Butler still remaining questionable, I think that's going to definitely swing where the money could potentially go as we get closer to tip. Jimmy Butler been dealing with that ankle injury. We expect him to play. I don't think he's going to sit out this game. It is a playoff game. He did get that basically a week layoff. So there's a lot of opportunity, but I think it's split because you're expecting New York to bounce back. They're not just going to lay down and just roll over in this contest. So I'm expecting Julius Randle to definitely have a bigger game. Emmanuel Quickley, as much as he played well in the regular season, hasn't made much of an impact in this postseason, or especially this series. So his absence due to the ankle injury, I don't think is big. I think it opens the door for Grimes. If you're looking for a potential value play to step up, Grimes is definitely going to get more minutes. He's a longer, more defensive guard, knock down that 3-point shot, and that can definitely help on Jimmy Butler. So I think that's the reason why we're seeing the money flowing. And the Knicks are a very public team too. Let's not forget that this team here is a fan favorite, and as how horrible the Knicks have done over the last few years, or how poorly they've done from a playoff perspective, this is like a championship moment for that city and this franchise. So definitely you can see a lot of the reason why it's mixed is you don't want to fade Jimmy Butler, but then you have all that public money coming in on Knicks.
If he does play, because like you said, he's questionable, but if Butler is out there, do you expect normal Jimmy Butler? And I guess what I mean by that is there are a lot of people that are still, over on his points prop, which last I looked was 28.5. I can see where it stands right now. Yeah, same thing, 28.5 at -120. Would you go over that? Or do you think, we'll get a 20 plus, but a slightly more contained or conservative Butler?
I think this is an opportunity. He knows that if they're able to win this game, they're likely going to win this series. So I'm expecting Butler to definitely get over 25. 28.5 is a little bit more difficult to me, just because I think that there's potential for assist here. Gabe Vincent's been playing well. Bam Adebayo can also step up, put Mitchell Robinson out of the game. If Julius Randle ends up playing a lot and actually scoring, they're going to need Bam to step up and force their defense to have to play as well. So I do like him potentially. If we can get him at +25, maybe some juice, or add it into like a Heat and Jimmy Butler player performance double type of deal, I think that could potentially work.
You brought up Randall, and we'll go to the other game in a second, but I've noticed a lot of people are really big on Randall's rebound over prop, and he's sitting at 8.5. Part of that obviously is the reduced role or minutes for Mitchell Robinson. Randall really has, he's blown this number out, and I think like 5 out of his last 6 games or something like that. It is 8.5 a little too light? Is it something people should be pouncing on, or maybe even betting it up with an alt?
Potentially, yes, but I actually like the rebounds and assists combo. I think there's potential there for him to be able to, get some easy dimes. He can play the pick and roll, pick and pop with Jalen Brunson whenever they want to run that as well. So I think there's more value actually in his dimes and rebounds together. So I like that one a lot better, because I think if he gets like 10 rebounds and 3 dimes, that's really easy for him to go over. Whereas if maybe, let's say he doesn't get the rebound opportunity, maybe Mitchell Robinson plays more minutes tonight. You don't know what adjustments the team's going to make, because the Knicks have to make an adjustment to make sure that they don't go down 3-1. So there could be any lineup adjustments here. So this gives you a couple of outs here. Let's say he ends up being in a facilitating role, so then you get the dimes upside. If he ends up being a small ball 5, then you get the rebounding upside. So I like the rebounds and assist prop to go better than that. And looking for a ladder, there's some potential here for Julius Randle to hit his 3-point ladder. I think that's where the ladder value ends up coming in. This is an opportunity if Julius Randle does not show up. I was commenting about in my group chat with James Harden's going to show up in game 4. If Randle doesn't show up in game 4 here, they're pretty much done. And the offseason noise on this guy is going to be piercingly loud, because they say, we have Jalen Brunson, we have what we need in this team, we need to maybe make a move, we need to readjust here. So I think this is a moment here where Julius Randle definitely steps up, and I like his potential for 3-pointer to go over. If he hits 3+, 4+, 5+, remember that game earlier in the season when Julius Randle played against the Heat, that corner 3-pointer to win the game, like he has that upside to go out and get the bucket. So if Julius Randle doesn't show up tonight, the noise on this Knicks team and moving him and potentially seeing what's going to happen is going to be very loud.
I just can't believe you're cheating on me with a group chat.
Hey man, we gotta get the bets going, man.
Am I not enough for you? The second game tonight has your Lakers favored by 2.5 points, though the money is on the Warriors, be it money line or on the spread as well. As far as the total, it leans toward the over, but not in a dominating way, the over 228. Your Lakers obviously have, again, we were just talking with Jeff in hockey about the opportunity, and you were saying with Butler in Miami as well, the opportunity to really not officially close this series, but 3-1. That's daunting, man. That is really tough to overcome, whatever sport, league, whatever you're talking about. Can the Lakers do that to Steph and company in LA, no less?
Well, per the dog, I remember there's a dog that has taken on whoever's going to win this series. The dog has the series going 3-1 right now.
Okay.
But,
the dog that bats the ball down the stairs?
Yeah, the dog that bats the ball down the stairs has the Lakers winning this one. So that's 1 point for the Lakers. But the other point for the Warriors here is that Scott Foster will be refereeing this game. And if you look at the records of the remaining superstars in the NBA playoffs, Stephen Curry has the best overall win percentage record with Scott Foster as the referee. The lowest, Chris Paul. We know it's Chris Paul and Scott Foster's history, but the highest, number 2 is LeBron. So it's a little bit of a wash, but LeBron, due to his playoff games and how many he's played, obviously the most all time is a really big number. You're going to get Scott Foster in your games, but Stephen Curry has the best winning percentage with Scott Foster. And I think the NBA, I don't want to say it's rigged. I'm not going to say that because the shots and the way that Kevin Durant and Devin Booker played last night, I can't even say that that's rigged. You can't make some of those shots because they're so difficult. But this series feels like it's going to go 7 because of all the ratings and what that means for the league, for LeBron and Curry.
Is there a prop you like best in this one before we take a quick look at the other games?
Definitely feeling that we're going to see a Curry bounce back performance in this one. The one that kind of stands out, though, what we'll need to watch for is maybe looking at like a Anthony Davis points, rebounds, and assists under. We've known this is like a playoff thing now. Anthony Davis does not play well in even series games. So we are in game 4. It's an even number. Anthony Davis doesn't really play well in these scenarios. Has not so far. He's going to need to if the Lakers want to pull out this victory, but there's a potential here for maybe a weird whistle. He's in some early foul trouble. The Warriors make a substitution where JaMychal Green's no longer starting and they have Kevon Looney starting. I still don't understand why they're moving Green because Davis is destroying them, but that is a card that the Warriors still have in their back pocket to play, and that potentially leads to Anthony Davis not having 10 rebound or more than 10 potential rebound opportunities. Obviously, in game 1, I think it was, both guys got massive amounts of rebounds. Looney had like 15 or 20, and Davis had a bunch as well. But I think that there's some potential here. If you're looking for a cool combo to check out potentially in this scenario, would be Anthony Davis unders.
All right, the couple of minutes we have left, it is just a couple, but we have 2 series continuing tomorrow. They are both 2-2 and changing location to the favorites. That's Philadelphia at Boston, early game, Phoenix at Denver in late game. Both single-digit spreads. No surprise there, obviously. After what we saw in those games last night, where Philadelphia ended up, blowing a big lead, but then stealing it back, winning in overtime to, again, make that a 2-2 set, and the back and forth kind of slugfest that we saw from Phoenix and Denver to even that thing up. What are your expectations for the game 5s tomorrow?
Jason Tatum is going to drop the hammer. We're going to see the Jason Tatum that we need to see. I love the fact that he was able to go out there, even though his shot wasn't falling early, he was able to make a big impact on the rebounds, got a bunch of dimes. His scoring ended up coming around, but this is a legacy game for Jason Tatum, and I think the Boston Celtics are definitely going to win this one. Due to how the game has been played, I'm not so sure about the spread, though. Like I'm kind of in the middle there. I think they're going to be able to cover. I think they're going to be able to have a blowout victory, but you just can't count out how important game 5 is and how both teams are going to fight tooth and nail and play their guys as many minutes as possible to get the victory. So I like potentially playing here Celtics and Nuggets as a parlay because I think both teams are extremely desperate. Both teams know what these game 5s at home means, and I think that is the one that provides you the most value. I think that ends up being plus 100 or something like that if you put them together.
I did that yesterday. We saw how that worked out. But hey, so it goes, right? Big news or relevant news to that second game as well for anyone that, may have missed it during the day. Nikola Jokic is not going to be suspended, fined $25,000, but he will be available for game 5, which is about the most predictable thing ever. The league was not going to sideline him in a 2-2 series, for that. But nevertheless, got a little kind of wonky there late night if you were up. Bengals and Jaguars are coming up next in Simland. We want to thank, obviously, Jeff joining us earlier, our producer, Eamon, Daniel, our technical director, this guy, Shrog. Shrog, we don't get you here nearly often enough. Let's do it again.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for
having me. All right, I'm Adam. Enjoy the betting tonight. Enjoy the games. We'll talk at you again tomorrow.